He was 6'3", jacked, owned 3 businesses, drove the matte black G-Wagon everyone screenshot. His girlfriend was the one you double tap out of reflex. At parties, he walked in and conversations bent toward him like plants to sunlight. Everyone agreed. This guy had power. Real power. 18 months later he was broke, alone, and posting cryptic gym quotes at 3 a.m. while the girl was on a yacht with a soft-spoken photographer who never flexed, never argued, barely posted. The photographer didn't out-earn him, outlift him, or out-talk him. He just won, quietly, completely, and nobody, not even the Broken King himself, could explain exactly how it happened. Here's the part they'll never teach you in the hustle seminars. The man who looked invincible was actually the weakest in the room the entire time, because real power isn't loud. It isn't seen. It doesn't need witnesses. What if the strongest man in any room, any relationship, any deal, is the one you never notice until it's far too late? Machiavelli figured this out 500 years ago and buried it in plain sight. Tonight, I'm handing it to you uncensored. 99% of men will chase applause until they die exhausted and replaced. The remaining 1% learn to disappear and rule everything. Stay with me. In the next 30 minutes, you're about to taste the kind of power most males can't even imagine. Look around you. Every feed, every street, every bar, and boardroom is a parade of peacocks screaming, "Look at me." The leased Lamborghini parked sideways. The watch that costs more than most men's yearly salary. The perfectly timed story of just closed another deal, right when his ex is watching. The loudest voice in the argument, the guy spreading across 2 chairs, barking orders like the world owes him obedience. We call it alpha. We call it having frame. We call it power, but it's theater. Expensive, sweaty, desperate theater. Because visible power is borrowed power. It only exists as long as the audience keeps clapping. The second the crowd looks away, market crashes, scandal drops, younger guy walks in with better abs, the throne collapses. One wrong tweet and the mob that worshipped you yesterday drags you through the streets today. One leaked text thread and the girl who called you daddy in front of her friends is screenshotting your downfall memes. I've watched men worth 8 figures cry in their walk-in closets because nobody on Twitter ratioed them. I've seen jacked influencers pop Xanax like candy the night before a bodybuilding show, because if they place second, their entire identity dies on stage. I've seen husbands who wear the pants get quietly replaced by the soft-spoken neighbor who never raises his voice. Every single one of them was secretly terrified of the same thing: silence. A room that doesn't notice them. A phone that stops buzzing. A woman who stops looking for their validation. The moment the spotlight flickers, they feel the ground disappear. Visible power is a drug, and the high is always followed by withdrawal. The crash is public, brutal, and permanent. And the worst part? Deep down, every man performing for the crowd knows it. That's why he keeps flexing harder, yelling louder, buying bigger. He's not proving strength to you. He's proving it to himself, because the second the performance stops, he has to face how empty the throne actually is. But there's another kind of power. One that doesn't need a stage. One that grows stronger the less you see it. And Machiavelli smiled when he wrote about it, because he knew most men would be too addicted to applause to ever understand. Most men quote Machiavelli like a motivational poster. It's better to be feared than loved. They tattoo the line, scream it in the gym, and completely miss the sentence that actually keeps princes alive. Here it is. Straight from chapter 18 of The Prince. Men in general judge more by their eyes than by their hands. For everyone can see, but very few can feel. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few touch what you are. In the actions of all men, and especially of princes, where there is no court to appeal to, one looks to the end. Let a prince then win and maintain his state. The means will always be judged honorable. Translation: the crowd only cares about the show. Give them a good one, and they'll cheer anything. The real game happens where their hands can't reach. Then, in chapter 3 of the Discourses, he sharpens the blade. You must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. The lion roars. The chest beating, the visible fangs, those are lion tactics. Necessary sometimes, but always expensive. Lions get hunted. Lions get poisoned. Lions become trophies on someone else's wall. Foxes don't. Foxes walk through the trap lines untouched. Eat the bait, and leave the hunter wondering why his steel jaws are empty. Machiavelli's deepest, most forbidden insight is this: the highest form of power is the power nobody can prove you have. Open fear is amateur night. It invites plots, rivals, knives in the dark. But when people depend on you, obey you, orbit you, yet swear on their lives, you're just a nice guy, or not even that important, you have reached the untouchable plane. Cesare Borgia terrified Italy with armies and public executions. Everyone saw the lion and sharpened their daggers. His father, Pope Alexander VI, ruled the same world with whispers, forged documents, and favors traded in candlelit rooms. When he died, half of Rome still insisted he'd been a saint. One became legend. The other became myth, because no one could ever pin the blood on his hands. That's the red pill most men spit out. Being openly feared is for those who still need ego. True mastery is being indispensable while everyone insists you're irrelevant. The lion dies loud. The fox dies old, rich, and completely unavenged. And 5 centuries later, nothing has changed except the costumes. 500 years later, the stage lights are brighter, the audience is global. But the law is exactly the same. The man who wins is the man you never saw coming. Watch any girl with a perfect boyfriend, ripped, rich, 200K followers. She still orbits the quiet photographer who answers her texts 3 hours late, never posts shirtless pics, and acts mildly indifferent. Her friends call him average. Behind closed doors, she's begging for his weekends. Why? Because he passed every hypergamy test without ever looking like he was trying. No bragging, no jealousy displays, no frame battles. Just calm, invisible preselection and strategic scarcity. She feels the pull, but can't explain it, so she rationalizes. He's different. Translation: his power has no fingerprints. Same script in the office. The loud closer hits every sales record, rents the Lambo, calls the boss bro in meetings. 6 months later, he's on a pip, while the quiet guy from accounting, who never speaks in stand-up, yet somehow knows where every body is buried, gets handed the department. Nobody can accuse him of politics. He just, upper management, just likes him. That's invisible power. He controls the information flow, plants ideas in offhand comments, and lets the loud guy take all the heat for unpopular decisions. Social circles run on the identical current. The guy who hosts the biggest parties, buys every round, and brags about his network value gets tolerated. The guy who rarely shows, sends one perfectly timed meme in the group chat, and disappears again, becomes the axis everyone revolves around. When drama erupts, they all message him first. He didn't campaign for the position. He simply never needed the credit. Even family dynamics bow to the law. The overbearing patriarch who demands respect at Thanksgiving gets eye-rolled the second he leaves the room. The quiet uncle who says almost nothing yet always knows when someone needs money or a favor becomes the unspoken head of the bloodline. Years later, will mysteriously favor him. Nobody can cry. Manipulation. Because nobody ever saw him ask. These men aren't always the richest, best looking, or smartest. They simply understood, some instinctively, some deliberately, that power exposed is power under siege. Power concealed is power eternal. The deadliest players in 2025 don't announce their moves. They don't need the room to know who's winning. They've internalized Machiavelli's forbidden line. Let the end be achieved, and the means will always be judged honorable. And the scariest part? Most of them don't even know they're following a 16th century Florentine mercenary. The law just works, every time, on every continent, in every era. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you start using it, the game never feels the same again. He had the penthouse, the podcast with 800,000 downloads, the girlfriend who looked like she stepped out of a music video. Every Thursday, he posted the same photo. Him on the balcony at sunset. Caption: gratitude. The likes poured in like rent. He read every comment. Needed them. One day a quieter creator. No ABs, no balcony. Half the followers dropped a thread exposing private DMEs where Mr. Gratitude had begged sponsors not to leave. The thread went nuclear. Sponsors vanished overnight. The girlfriend posted a black square and moved to Dubai with a crypto guy who never posts at all. Within 90 days, the penthouse was Airbnb'd, the podcast deleted, and the last anyone saw of him, he was live streaming apologies at 2 a.m. to 400 viewers. He still swears it was cancel culture. Truth. He died the moment the audience realized his power depended on their applause. Another one, the boys called respected. 6'4", deep voice, always picked up the tab, always had the final word in every argument. At the bar he'd loudly declare, "She knows who the man is," while his wife rolled her eyes behind his back. 1 year later she's living with a yoga instructor who looks like he can barely bench 135, but speaks in a soft monotone and never raises his voice. The big man still can't comprehend how he lost. He keeps telling the group chat, "I had everything." No, he had a spotlight. The yoga guy had leverage no one could see. I knew. A finance bro who closed 9-figure deals and made sure every soul in the building knew it. Rolex competitions in the elevator. Just bought another watch, texts in the group chat. Then rates shifted, one deal blew up, and suddenly the loudest voice in the room became the easiest scapegoat. Fired, blacklisted, posting motivational quotes about snakes. Meanwhile, the mid-level risk analyst nobody remembered, gray hoodies. Never spoke in meetings, quietly took his chair and his bonus. Because he'd been feeding intel to the C-suite for 2 years without ever taking credit. All these men had frame. All of them had money. All of them had status. Every single one lost it the moment their power required a witness. Then there's the guy at the party, leaning against the wall, nursing one drink all night, saying almost nothing. Women drift toward him. Men ask his opinion and accept it without debate. When he leaves early, the whole conversations shift. Nobody can explain why they listen to him. He looks average, sometimes even weak. But the room bends. That's the trap laid bare. The second you need to be recognized as the source, you become dependent on the recognition. And anything dependent can be taken. The moment you need credit, you've already lost. Here are the 5 silent levers. Master them, and you will never again need to raise your voice. Flash your wallet, or prove you're the man. The room will simply obey, and no one will ever be able to tell you why. Got one. Strategic absence, 120 words. Presence is only powerful when it can be withdrawn. The man who is always there becomes wallpaper. The man who vanishes at the peak of his value becomes a drug. In dating, answer her 3rd text in a row 6 hours late with a single calm message. Watch her investment triple. In the friend group, skip 2 big nights out, then show up once suddenly you're the event. At work, take unexplained personal days, right when your input is most needed. They panic over your absence far more than they ever celebrated your presence. Absence makes the fox untouchable. 2. Plausible. Deniability, 120 words. Never let them prove intent. Every move must have 2 explanations. The innocent one they tell themselves, and the lethal one only you know. You didn't punish her with silence. You were super busy closing a deal. You didn't sabotage the loudmouth colleague. You simply forgot to CC him on the email that saved the account. You didn't orchestrate the venue change that killed his birthday plans. Someone else suggested it. You just didn't object. Always give them a comfortable story to repeat. The knife slides in cleaner when they swear it was an accident. 3. Pre-selection, without bragging, 120 words. Women and status follow men who are already chosen by other women and high-value men, but only when it's discovered, never announced. Never post the model on your arm. Let her friend tag you in the background of her story. Never say, "I know the owner." Walk straight past the velvet rope while the bouncer greets you by name. Never name drop the celebrity client. Let someone else whisper, "Wait, you didn't know he trains with X?" Pre-selection is only potent when it feels like contraband information they uncovered themselves. Bragging turns gold into costume jewelry. 4. Information asymmetry, 120 words. Know everything. Reveal almost nothing. Listen twice as much as you speak. Remember birthdays, debts, secrets, fears. File them away. When the moment comes, drop one precise detail that proves you were paying attention while everyone else was performing. In negotiations, in beds, in boardrooms, the man who knows the hidden numbers, the hidden motives, the hidden exit clauses wins before the game starts. The modern fox doesn't fight wolves. He knows which wolves are lame, which are in heat, or owe him favors from 3 winters ago. Information is the modern poison ring. 5. Letting others think it was their idea, 120 words. The ultimate coronation. They crown you while believing they crowned themselves. Plant the seed with a question, never a command. What if we tried X? Then shut up. When they repeat your idea 2 days later as their own, nod slowly, smile, and say, "That's brilliant. You should run with it." They will fight to the death defending the plan because ego is now invested. She thinks leaving her boyfriend was her decision. The team thinks the new strategy was collective genius. The rival takes the fall for the move you suggested in jest. You collect the kingdom, and the credit goes to the puppets who believe they pulled the strings. Use these 5 levers in combination, and something eerie happens. People start rearranging their lives to keep you happy while swearing you're chill and never ask for anything. That, brother, is invisible power in its final form. There is a shadow that follows every man who masters invisible power, and I won't lie to you about it. The same levers that make you untouchable can turn you cold, strategic. Absence becomes chronic detachment, plausible. Deniability becomes habitual deceit, information. Asymmetry becomes paranoia, letting others think it was their idea. Becomes contempt for everyone around you. Before you notice, you're surrounded by people who fear or need you, but no one who actually knows you. You win every battle and wake up at 3 a.m., wondering why victory tastes like ash. I've watched it happen. The guy who could steal any girl in the bar ends up alone because genuine intimacy requires vulnerability, and vulnerability feels like weakness to a man who has trained himself never to need anything. The executive who quietly runs the company policy from the shadows gets the corner office and realizes the only voice he trusts anymore is his own. Power without restraint breeds monsters, sometimes in the mirror. Machiavelli himself died exiled, sick and bitter, because even he forgot the final, unwritten chapter. Power must eventually serve something larger than itself, or it devours the WIELDER. So here is the only moral line that matters. Use these tools for creation, not just conquest. Build businesses that last, families that respect you, circles that grow stronger because you exist, not weaker. Protect, elevate, and lead without ever needing the credit. That is the difference between the prince who is remembered as a legend and the one remembered as a villain. Or worse, forgotten entirely. Invisible power is fire, wielded blindly. It burns your house down with you inside. Wielded with purpose, it lights cities. Choose which story they'll tell about you. When you're gone. We started with a king in a G-Wagon who lost everything to a ghost. Nobody noticed. We tore apart the myth that loud equals strong, that likes equal loyalty, applause equal power. We dug up Machiavelli's forbidden law. Men judge by eyes, not hands. So keep your hands invisible and let their eyes see. Whatever keeps them calm. We watched that ancient truth play out in 2025 bedrooms, boardrooms, and group chats. We witnessed good men destroyed because they needed to be seen as the source, while average-looking foxes quietly collected kingdoms. Then I handed you the 5 silent levers: absence, deniability, pre-selection without proof, information no one knows you have, and the black magic of letting them believe every victory was their idea. I also showed you the shadow. If you wield these tools only for ego or emptiness, you'll end up untouchable and unalive, ruling over ruins and ghosts, but you're still here. That already puts you in the 1% who didn't click away. When it got uncomfortable, most men will keep performing for an audience that doesn't care, chasing the next hit of validation until the algorithm, the girl, or the market finally looks away and they collapse. A tiny few will take what you just learned, vanish from the stage, and start directing the entire play from the wings. Those few will build wealth that can't be taken, relationships that last, legacies that echo, while the crowd still swears they're just lucky or chill. Your move. This week. Pick one lever and use it deliberately. The party everyone expects you at. Answer one important text 8 hours late with zero explanation. Plant one idea and watch someone else fight for it like it was theirs. Practice strategic silence for 7 days straight and watch reality start to bend around the space you refuse to fill with noise. Do it. Feel the shift. Then come back and tell me how fast the world begins obeying a man it can't even prove exists. Welcome to invisible power. Now disappear and rule.